The morning after the wedding that never was. I was standing at my kitchen window. In the house Calvin and I had bought 35 years ago. It was the only home Andre had ever known. The light spilled across our quiet street in suburban Atlanta. The kind of light that usually promised peace. On any other Sunday morning, the air would smell of bacon and biscuits from Mrs. Davis next door. The sounds would be the whoosh of sprinklers on lawns, the distant chime of the bells from Ebenezer Baptist, and Calvin turning the pages of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution out on the porch. For nearly 35 years, this house had been our sanctuary. This was the kitchen where I'd patiently taught Andre how to tie his shoes. His little brow furrowed in concentration. This was the living room where Calvin had grilled ribs every Memorial Day. The smell of his secret recipe barbecue sauce sinking into the curtains. This was the porch where the church ladies gathered after choir practice. Their laughter filling the rafters. Every picture frame on the walls. Every scuff mark on the hardwood floors. Every worn spot on the arm of Calvin's recliner. It all whispered of years invested. Of a love that felt as certain as the sun rising. Of sacrifices we chose to make. Sacrifices we thought had meaning. And yet, in less than 24 hours, our place in our own son's life had been rewritten. Not with words of gratitude or respect, but with 4 small, sharp syllables. You're not invited. The words had nested in my mind all night. I hadn't slept. I had just waited. Waited for the sun to come up and prove that yesterday was a nightmare. But the sun came up. And the nightmare was still here. It was sitting on my granite countertop. Right next to the coffee maker. That silver gift box. Still tied with its perfect navy ribbon. A monument to our foolishness. Calvin came in from the porch. Still in his robe. The morning paper was folded neatly under his arm. He moved with a heavy stillness. He poured his coffee in silence. The way he did when something was truly eating at him. His calmness had always been my anchor. But I saw it. I saw the tightness in his shoulders. The storm he was carrying just beneath the surface. He hadn't slept either. He was 65. I was 63. We were supposed to be planning our retirement trip. We were supposed to be looking forward to grandchildren. We were not supposed to be erased. Andre was our only child. Our miracle boy. After years of quiet prayers whispered into hospital corridors. After 2 miscarriages that nearly broke me. He came to us. And we devoted everything, every single thing, to him. We wanted him to stand on a foundation stronger than the one we had inherited. My people came from sharecroppers in Georgia. Calvin's folks had come up from nothing in Birmingham. We knew what it was to work twice as hard for half as much. We knew what it was to be told, in ways both loud and quiet, that we didn't fit. So we worked. Lord, how we worked. Calvin put in 60-hour weeks at the plant. Moving from the floor to management through sheer grit. I'd started my small bakery. Mia's sweet blessings. Getting up at 4 a.m. every morning. My hands perpetually dusted with flour. We clipped coupons. We skipped vacations we could have afforded. We drove our cars until the wheels practically fell off. All for him. All so Andre could have the choices we didn't. And he had. By 28, Andre was a software engineer, leading a small team at a startup in Atlanta. He was bright. He was kind. But he was also soft. Soft-hearted to a fault. Always the peacemaker. Always bending himself to fit what others wanted. A piece of me. The hard part of me that came from my big mama. Always feared that gentleness would one day be his undoing. It wasn't until 3 years ago that he brought Sloan Mercer home. She arrived at our doorstep not like a girl coming to meet her boyfriend's parents. But like a celebrity arriving at a red carpet event. Designer heels clicking on our walkway. Hair swept into a glossy knot that looked like it cost more than our weekly grocery bill. Her smile was practiced, like she was stepping onto a stage. "It's so good to finally meet you," she had said, her voice warm, but her eyes were cold. They were scanning our living room. Our comfortable, lived-in furniture. Our family photos, like she was evaluating a movie set. and finding it lacking. Sloane wasn't just any young woman. She was an influencer. A word I still didn't fully understand. Her brand, as she called it, was built on curated images of luxury. Brunches at rooftop restaurants I'd never heard of. Vacations in Santorini. Champagne being poured in slow motion for an audience of thousands of strangers. At our family cookout, I saw her wrinkle her nose at the red plastic cups. At Christmas, she'd gently suggested Andre wear a designer suit for the family photos, instead of the comfortable sweater I'd knitted for him. It wasn't about love, it was about image. Then came her mother, Victoria Mercer. If Sloane was ice, Victoria was steel, a woman who believed life was a ladder to be climbed, and every rung was greased with appearances and alliances. She spoke of country clubs, networking, and curating connections, the way my church sisters spoke of recipes. I will never, ever forget the first time she visited this house. This kitchen. She walked through, her eyes taking in my spice racks, my mason jars filled with sugar and flour, the worn wooden spoons I'd inherited from my mother. She'd glanced at my framed Serenity Prayer, hanging by the door. She smiled politely. Charming, she said. Just that one word, charming, the way one might comment on a child's art project pinned to the fridge. The way you'd talk about something quaint, something lesser. It was clear from the start. In her world, we weren't the right fit. We weren't the right aesthetic. But Andre loved her, or, at least, he said he loved her. He swore she understood him. That behind the cameras and the branding, there was a softer woman who just wanted to build a life with him. He asked us to trust him. He asked us to welcome her. And so we did what parents do. We sacrificed. We bit our tongues. We smiled. When the engagement came, the Mercers suggested Lakeside Manor. The price tag made my breath catch in my throat. It was obscene, but Andre looked at us with that same hopeful, pleading look in his eyes. And Calvin, my strong, steady Calvin, had looked at our savings account and said, "We'll make it happen." We dipped into the retirement funds. We even touched the home equity line we had promised each other. Swore to each other, we would leave untouched. Venue, $35. Catering, $18. Photographer, band, florist, planner, every contract carried our names, our signatures, our money. We told ourselves it was worth it. Our son deserved the day of his dreams. But, Lord, forgive my willful ignorance, the warning signs were there. They were flashing like neon. The rehearsal dinner, we weren't asked to speak. Not one toast. We're just keeping a streamlined program. Mia, Sloane had said with that thin smile. The bridal shower, not a single invite sent our way. Not even to my sister, Jo. When I asked about the wedding colors, just trying to be involved, Sloane had replied, "Oh, it's handled. It's not really your lane, Mia." Not your lane. Even Andre grew quieter. He deflected our questions, insisting everything was fine. He looked tired. He looked haunted, caught between two worlds. Ours, built on faith and sweat, and hers, built on filters and contracts. I should have pressed harder. I should have asked why the planner, Tessa, suddenly requested the final payments be routed through a new account number. I should have listened when my sister, Aunt Jo, who manages events herself, whispered to me, "Mia, that new contract addendum she showed me, it listed Mercer Media LLC as the host instead of you. Why would they do that?" But I didn't. I smoothed it over. I told myself families just blend differently these days. I told myself love would find its way. I told myself not to make a scene. Until yesterday, when Sloane herself finally made it plain. You don't fit the aesthetic. Now, standing in my kitchen, with the bright morning sunlight catching on that untouched silver gift box, I felt the crushing weight of every compromise, every silence I had swallowed, every time I had chosen to be the peacemaker instead of the protector. The phone buzzed on the counter. It startled me so bad. I nearly dropped my mug. It was a text from Beatrice. Sister B, my next-door neighbor and closest confidant. She had been at the wedding, or the attempted wedding. She'd been a guest of Aunt Jo. The message was short. My heart hammered against my ribs. Call me when you can. Honey, you won't believe what I heard after y'all left. I stared at the screen. My hands were shaking again. Calvin looked over, his eyes questioning. I just showed him the phone. His jaw tightened. Call her. I picked up the phone. I pressed the call button. I braced myself. Because if Sloane's words yesterday had shattered me, I knew, deep in my bones, that what B was about to reveal would set the entire foundation of our lives trembling. B? Mia, oh, Lord, honey, are you all right? I've been worried sick. I didn't know what to do. We're home. B, just, tell me, what did you hear? B's voice crackled through the line. Low and urgent. Mia, you need to know what was being said. After y'all left. Oh, it was awful. The bridesmaids. That little one with the blonde hair? She was laughing about how the Brookses finally got the hint. Someone, Mia, I think it was Sloane's own mother. Victoria, someone joked. Well, at least now the photos will look clean. Clean. I gripped the counter so hard my knuckles ached. Clean. Like we were dirt. Like Calvin and I who had paid for the very ground they stood on. Were something to be brushed off a perfect picture. Clean. I repeated. My voice was hollow. That's not even the half of it. Honey, B continued, her voice dropping even lower. I was on the patio. Near the planner's table. I overheard that planner girl, Tessa, arguing with the florist on the phone. The new florist. Not the one y'all hired. And the florist must have been confused about the payment. Because Tessa. Oh, Mia, Tessa snapped at him. What did she say, B? She said, I heard her plain as day, she said. The payment authorization is coming from Mercer Media. Not the Brooks. The florist man was still confused. And Tessa got huffy and said, forget the Brooks. They're irrelevant. It's Mercer Media signing off on everything now. The words landed like a stone in my stomach. Mercer Media. The name Aunt Jo had whispered. The name I had ignored. I looked at Calvin. He was watching me with that steady, analyzing gaze of his. He didn't need to ask. He already knew. They've been cutting us out for weeks. I whispered, the phone still pressed to my ear. This wasn't about an aesthetic. This was a takeover. He nodded slowly. His eyes weren't just angry anymore. They were cold, calculating. Paperwork doesn't lie, Mia, he said, and if they changed contracts behind our backs, if they used our money to secure their deals. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Yesterday, I was a mother grieving a broken relationship. This morning, I was a woman who realized she had been robbed. The drama was over. The investigation was just beginning. After I hung up with B, the kitchen was silent. But it was a new kind of silence. It wasn't the heavy, grieving silence of the night before. It was a cold, sharp, metallic silence. The smell of brewing coffee suddenly seemed too thin for the moment. Mercer Media signing off. The words hung in the air between us. I looked at Calvin. He was staring at the wall. At the framed picture of Andre at his high school graduation. His smile so wide and full of promise. His arm draped around my shoulder. Calvin's eyes were distant, not looking at the picture. But through it, connecting dots I hadn't even seen yet. Paperwork doesn't lie, Mia, he said again, his voice quiet, but all the rawness was gone. It was replaced by something else. Something harder. And I know exactly what paperwork I signed. And I know what I didn't sign. He picked up his phone. He didn't scroll. He knew exactly who he was calling. Who are you calling? Calvin? Aaliyah, he said simply. My heart didn't just drop. It seized. Aaliyah. Aaliyah was not just a lawyer. Aaliyah was, well, she was family, not by blood, but by something deeper, by history, by shared struggle and shared Sundays. Aaliyah Price, Andre's godmother. I was there when Aaliyah passed the bar. She was there when Andre was baptized, holding him in her arms, promising before God and our whole congregation to help guide him. She was the one who ate at our Thanksgiving table more times than I could count. The one who would argue with Calvin about politics and then laugh with me about his stubbornness. She was Auntie Aaliyah. To call her now, on this was admitting a failure so deep I couldn't even name it. It was taking the rot that had started in our family and bringing it out into the light. It was moving past family hurt and stamping it with a legal file number. Calvin pressed the phone to his ear. It was Sunday, but he knew she'd pick up. She always did. Aaliyah, it's Calvin. I'm fine. Listen, we have a problem, a real one. It's about Andre, and that woman he married. Calvin was silent for a long time. Just listening. I watched his face. I saw the muscles in his jaw clench and unclench. Yes, that's exactly right, he said. No, worse. Yes, they kicked us out. No, Aaliyah, listen to me. They kicked us out. Yes, but that's not the half of it. I know, they've been moving money. Another pause. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. We'll be there, and Aaliyah, thank you. He hung up. She's pulling the files, he said, looking at me. She's already pulling the vendor contracts from the county registrar. God help us, Calvin, I whispered. God helps those who help themselves. Mia, he said, turning to pour his coffee. And right now, we need to help ourselves. Because I don't think our son is going to. That was the blow, the realization that our son, our miracle boy, was not coming to save us. He was not coming to apologize. He was on the other side. The next morning, Aaliyah's office felt like another planet. It was on the 12th floor of a downtown building, all glass and steel, with a view that stretched across the Atlanta skyline. Our modest, brick and siding neighborhood felt a long way away. Aaliyah was everything our kitchen was not. She was sharp, tailored, and commanded the room without raising her voice. Her suit was impeccable, but when she came around the desk to hug me, it wasn't the lawyer, it was Auntie Aaliyah. Mia, Calvin, she said, her voice rich and low. Sit. We sat in the leather chairs across from her massive mahogany desk. For a few minutes, I told the story. I told her about the silver box, the pearls, the hallway, the bridesmaids giggling. I told her about Sloane's eyes, cold as ice. I told her the word that had been branding itself on my heart. Aesthetic. I told her about the staff exit. I cried. I hadn't let myself cry in front of Calvin, but I cried in front of Aaliyah. It was the shame of it. The public, cold-blooded humiliation. Aaliyah didn't say, "It'll be okay." She didn't offer platitudes. She just pushed a box of tissues toward me, her eyes darkening with a controlled fury that matched Calvin's. "And Victoria?" she asked. "She saw you, and she turned her back." "Like we were no one," I whispered. Aaliyah nodded, filing that away. Then she looked at Calvin. "Okay, that's the hurt. Now, Calvin, give me the crime." Calvin leaned forward. Mercer Media LLC. Our neighbor, overheard the planner, Tessa, saying all payments were being signed off by Mercer Media. Not us. Aaliyah's fingers flew across her keyboard. Mercer Media, registered 3 years ago. Same time Sloane came into the picture. Okay, registered to Victoria Mercer, of course. We signed contracts. Aaliyah, Calvin said, his voice firm. We signed with Lakeside Manor. We signed with Armand the florist. We signed with La Croix Catering. Our names, our money, from our home equity line. And that, Aaliyah said, is where we have them. If they filed addendums, if they changed the payer, They would need your signatures. Did you sign anything that mentioned Mercer Media? No, I said. I would have remembered. No, Calvin said. I read every line. They knew I read every line. Which means, Aaliyah finished, her voice grim. They either breached the original contracts, or they forged your signatures. Forgery. The words sucked the air out of the room. This wasn't a family squabble. This wasn't a case of a rude daughter-in-law. This was a felony. I need every piece of paper you have, Aaliyah said, her demeanor gone, replaced by the shark I knew she was in a courtroom. Every email, every bank statement, every text message. This is going to get ugly. Y'all, are you prepared for what we find when we turn this rock over? I looked at Calvin. He looked at me. I thought of Big Mama being told to use the back door. I looked at Aaliyah. They called us dirt. Aaliyah, I said, my voice quiet, but the tremble was gone. Turn the rock over, and let's see what crawls out. Over the next few days, the clues didn't just surface. It felt like a landslide. It was like we had pulled one loose thread, and now the whole, rotten tapestry was unraveling. The first blow came from my own community, my bakery. I went in on Tuesday. I had to. My girls were running it. But it was my business. I needed the normalcy. I needed the smell of yeast and sugar. Denise, who runs the high-end cake business 2 towns over, came in. We'd referred clients to each other for years. She came in under the pretense of buying a sweet potato pie. But I saw the look in her eyes. It was pity. She waited until the last customer left. Mia, she started, twisting her hands. I probably shouldn't be messy. But, Lord, after what I heard, I gotta tell you. What is it, Denise? That planner, Tessa, she said, lowering her voice. She called me first for that wedding. Y'all had recommended me. I remember. We gave them your name. Well, she tried to get me to sign a contract with that Mercer Media thing. She wanted 2 contracts. One for you, for the deposit, and another one, a sponsorship one. For them. It all smelled funny. Mia, she wanted me to inflate my invoice to you. And then, rebate, the difference to the LLC. It's a kickback scheme, plain and simple. My stomach turned. What did you do? I told her I don't do business that way. My contract is with the person paying the bill. That's you. And you know what she said to me? She said, the Brookses are just the money. They're confused. You'll be dealing with us. She got real nasty, so I told her to take her business elsewhere. Denise looked at me, her eyes sad. Mia, it's like they wanted you erased from the books from the jump. They were spinning a story about y'all being incompetent, senile, or something. It was ugly. I went home and told Calvin. He just nodded, his face like granite, and wrote it down in a legal pad. Denise, kickback, slander. That night, Andre finally came by the house. He sat stiffly at our kitchen table, the same table where I'd kissed his scraped knees, the same table where we'd celebrated his acceptance to Morehouse. He wouldn't look me in the eye. He had his hands wrapped around a mug of coffee I'd made him. Untouched. I know you're upset, he began. The word, upset, was so small, so insulting, I almost laughed. But Sloane, she just wants things to be professional, he said. He was reciting. This was a script. She's building a brand. Mom, she can't risk, messy family drama going public. Messy. Is that what she calls us? Andre? My voice was trembling, and I hated it. Is that what you call us? Mess? Andre winced. No, Mom, she didn't mean it like that. Look, Mom, Dad, she wants her day to look a certain way. The sponsors. Calvin cut him off. His voice clipped, sharp as a razor. Sponsors. What does a wedding need sponsors for, son? Andre's eyes darted away. He muttered something about brand partnerships and exclusive content rights. But his words just twisted into knots. He looked like a man cornered, repeating words that weren't his. I could almost hear Victoria's sharp, cultured voice behind every excuse. "Son," Calvin said, his voice dangerously soft. "Did you sign anything? Anything at all with their name on it?" Andre hesitated, just for a second, but it was too long. It was just standard stuff. For the brand." "You get out," Calvin said. "Dad?" I said, "Get out of our house." "Andre," Calvin said, his voice flat, "Get out, and don't come back until you're ready to tell the truth. Until you're ready to be a Brooks again. Right now, you're a Mercer. And they're not welcome here." Andre left. He didn't protest. He just left. I watched my only son walk out the door. And I didn't cry. I was too cold. The next morning, 2 things arrived. The first was a thick, cream-colored envelope, slid under our front door. No return address, no postage. Someone had hand-delivered it. Inside was not a letter. It was a printed screenshot from a private Instagram story. The image showed Sloane in her gown, posing with her bridesmaids, champagne glasses raised. The lighting was perfect. Her smile was triumphant. The caption, written in a flowing, arrogant script, read: "An old money wedding. No messy in-laws. Just pure Mercer aesthetic. Your partnership is everything. At Dwayne Jewelry, Sparkles." I sat down hard in the armchair. They hadn't just excluded us. They were advertising it. They were monetizing our absence. I was still staring at it when Calvin came in from the porch, holding the morning mail. He set down a letter. Its return address was stamped with the seal of our bank. My breath hitched. It was a notice about unusual requests made on our home equity line of credit. The same line we had tapped to pay for the wedding. Apparently, Mercer Media LLC had attempted to authorize withdrawals, claiming to be the new managing partner of the event fund. The bank, thank God for good banking, had flagged it as suspicious, since our names were still the only ones legally attached. I stared at the letter. The screenshot was still in my lap. My heart thudded with a mix of dread and white-hot anger. "They're trying to take more than just our dignity," I whispered. "Calvin, they're trying to take our house." That evening, my sister Jo stopped by. Aunt Jo. She wasn't carrying a casserole. She wasn't carrying condolences. She was carrying a flash drive. "You need to see this," she said, plugging it into our old laptop. It was footage from Lakeside Manor's security cameras. The hallway outside the bridal suite. The timestamp showed Calvin and me, standing outside, holding that silver gift box. Then Sloane, stepping out, her lips moving, her face cold. Jo tapped the screen. "Notice anything?" We leaned closer. Before Sloane even opened the door, Jo said, her voice tight, "Look." At the end of the hall, a man in a suit, one of the planner's assistants, was speaking into a walkie-talkie. "My friend in security pulled the footage for me," Jo said. "He said they were on high alert." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" He said, "The planner, Tessa, told resort security that the groom's parents were unstable and might try to cause a scene. They had a guard stationed just out of frame, ready to remove you." It hadn't been spontaneous. It hadn't been a bride's whim. It had been planned, orchestrated. They had security on standby to remove us. The people paying for the entire event. As if we were trespassers. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window, staring at the dark street. Every detail replayed in my mind. The way Victoria had looked right through us. The way Andre had shrunk into silence. The way Sloane's voice hadn't cracked once when she told us to leave. I thought of the necklace, still tucked in its silver box upstairs. A treasure passed down from women who survived harder times than this. Women who fought for their place in families and communities that sometimes wanted to erase them. What would my big mama have done? She had lived through segregation. She had worked double shifts in a textile mill. She had raised children who faced closed doors at every turn. She wouldn't have begged for a seat at someone else's table. She would have built her own. A noise startled me from my thoughts. The vibration of Calvin's phone on the nightstand. He picked it up, listened, then handed it to me. It was Aaliyah. Her voice was grim. Mia, Calvin, you need to come by my office. First thing tomorrow. I pulled the vendor files. And I've uncovered something about those contract addendums. I waited. Aaliyah, what is it? Her voice was sharp, professional, and full of rage. It's your signatures, Mia. They're on all the new addendums. The ones that transfer payment authority to Mercer Media. But we never signed. I know, Aaliyah said. I know your handwriting, Mia. I've seen it on Andre's birthday cards for 28 years. And this isn't yours. Forgery. The word was real now. Every thread was weaving into something darker. Something more tangled than a simple wedding dispute. What had Sloane and her family really planned? And just how far were they willing to go to erase us from our own son's life? The word Aaliyah spoke hung in the air of her glass and steel office like a death sentence. Forgery. I think I stopped breathing. Calvin just sat there, his hands clasped on his knees, looking like a man carved from dark wood. He didn't flinch. He had known the moment B said, Mercer Media. But to hear it given its proper legal name, forgery, it changed everything. So, what does it mean? I finally managed to ask, my voice sounding small and thin in that big, important room. Aaliyah leaned forward, all the ante gone from her face. This was Counselor Price, the woman who did not lose cases. It means this isn't a family dispute. Mia, this isn't bad manners. This isn't even just a civil case about money anymore. She tapped the stack of contracts she'd had messengered over from the manor. The ones with my name and Calvin's scrawled on the addendums in an ink that was just a little too bright. A loop on my M that was just a little too perfect. This is fraud. This is a Class D felony in the state of Georgia. It's wire fraud. If they used email, it's prison time. Mia. Prison time. My hand flew to my mouth. I had come here for, what? An apology? To get our money back? I had come here as an insulted mother. I was leaving as a victim of a crime. They wouldn't. I whispered. Sloane, Victoria, they're arrogant, but, to risk. They already did, Calvin said, his voice flat. But, what about Andre? I asked, and my voice broke on his name. Where is he in this? He's a victim, too, right? They fooled him. Just like they. I trailed off, because Aaliyah's sharp, intelligent eyes faltered. She looked down at her desk. Just for a second, and that hesitation was louder than a gunshot. Aaliyah? Calvin's voice was a warning. Tell us. I don't know yet, she said, and I knew she was lying. Or, at least, softening the blow. His name isn't on the forged documents. They were smart enough to use your names. The names on the original contracts. But, I've run a search on Mercer Media LLC. And I've seen some revisions on other, smaller contracts. It looks like he may have been drawn into this without realizing. Or, maybe he did. No, I said, shaking my head. No, not my boy. He's soft. He's weak-willed. But he's not a thief. He's not a liar. Aaliyah looked at me, her eyes full of a pity that made my skin crawl. Mia, what's the difference? In the eyes of the law. Between a fool and a co-conspirator? Sometimes. Nothing. We need to find out what he knew. And when he knew it. We drove home in a silence so thick it felt like drowning. The beautiful Atlanta skyline blurred past the windows. But I saw nothing. My mind was stuck on that one terrible possibility. What if he knew? What if our son, The boy we'd given everything to had stood by and let them do this to us? What if he'd helped? Stop it, Mia, Calvin said, as if hearing my thoughts. We don't know that. We don't know. But we were about to. We were home for maybe an hour. I was in the kitchen, staring at the coffee maker, unable to even think about making a pot. Calvin was in his study. The door closed. I could hear the low murmur of his voice. He was probably on the phone with the bank, with our credit card companies, building a wall. Then I heard the soft thud of the mail slot in our front door. It wasn't the postman. He didn't come for another few hours. It was the same sound as the day before, the hand-delivered envelope. My blood ran cold. I walked to the door, my feet feeling like lead. There it was, on the welcome mat. Another thick, cream-colored envelope, just like the one from yesterday. No name, no address. I picked it up. It was heavier than the last one. I took it to the dining room table. Calvin had heard me and came out of his study, his face grim. What is it? I don't know. My hands trembled so badly. I couldn't open the clasp. Calvin took it from me and tore the flap open. Inside wasn't a screenshot this time. It was a single, glossy 5x7 photograph. The kind you get from a professional photographer. It was from the wedding. The one that never happened. It was Andre and Sloane, standing under the floral arch we had paid for. They must have taken photos before the ceremony, before Calvin's calls had shut them down. They were smiling. Andre looked happy, relieved. Sloane was looking up at him, her face a perfect mask of adoration. But it wasn't the image that held my gaze. It was the white border at the bottom, the kind of border you get on old-timey prints. And on that border, scrolled in neat, careful handwriting, were 4 words. You don't belong here. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to scream that Victoria had written it, that Sloane had faked it. My mind scrambled, trying to find a foothold. Who did this? That wicked, hateful. Calvin didn't say a word. He just sat down heavily in the chair at the head of the table. The chair he'd sat in for 35 years. He picked up the photo, looked at it, then turned it over, as if checking for something else. Then he slid it back across the polished wood to me. Look at it, Mia, he said. His voice was hollow. Don't look at the words. Look at the handwriting. I picked it up. My eyes were blurred with tears of rage. I don't. Look, he commanded, his voice gentle, but firm. So I looked. I really looked. I looked at the careful, slanted letters, the precise way the G looped at the end of belong. The sharp, definitive cross on the T. The little hook at the start of the Y. My breath caught. It was like a physical blow. I knew that handwriting. I had seen it on his first report card, when he'd proudly written, Andre Brooks, at the top in his new cursive. I had seen it on countless birthday cards. To Mom, the best cook in the world. I had seen it on letters from college. The G's and T's and Y's identical. Dear Mom and Dad, I'm doing fine. But I had seen it on the thank you note he'd written us, just 6 months ago, for the down payment assistance we gave him for his condo. I'm so grateful for you both. I couldn't do this without you. It was Andre's. It was my son's. My only child, my miracle boy. The photograph fell from my fingers. I sank into the chair opposite Calvin. For the first time in our marriage, I saw something in my husband's eyes that shook me more than his anger. I saw grief, raw, unguarded, bottomless grief, the kind of grief you feel for a death. I couldn't form the words. Yes, Calvin said. His voice was barely a whisper. The contract signatures, those were forged by them to look like us. To steal our money, that was business. He tapped the photograph, his finger hitting his son's handwriting. But this, he said, this was from him. This was personal. This is him, telling us the truth. The room tilted. The forgery, Aaliyah, the bank, all of it paled in comparison to this. This was the true betrayal. This was the insider twist. This was the knife that had been slid between my ribs. Not by an enemy, but by my own flesh and blood. He hadn't just let them do it. He hadn't just been duped. He was in on it. He agreed with them. You don't belong here. A sob tore itself from my chest. A sound I didn't recognize. It was the sound of a mother breaking. Calvin got up, walked around the table, and put his hands on my shoulders. He didn't say, "It'll be okay." He didn't say, "We'll get through this." He just stood there, his hands a heavy weight, anchoring me as our world capsized. We sat like that for I don't know how long. An hour, a lifetime. Finally, I looked up at him. "Aaliyah," I said, we have to show Aaliyah." When we got to her office this time, we didn't wait in the lobby. Her assistant saw our faces and just waved us straight through. Aaliyah was on the phone. She saw us, said, "I have to call you back," and hung up. "What is it?" I couldn't speak. I just slid the photograph across her desk. She picked it up. She read the words. Her eyes narrowed. "This is vile. Victoria's handwriting?" "No," Calvin said. Aaliyah looked up at him. "Sloane's?" I shook my head, finding my voice. "It's Andre's." Aaliyah's professional mask shattered. For 1 second, I saw Auntie Aaliyah, the woman who had held my son at his baptism. Her eyes filled with a pained disbelief. "Oh, Mia, no." "Yes," I said, "I'd know it anywhere." She sat back, the air leaving her lungs. "Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy." She stared at the photo. Not as a mother or a godmother, but as a lawyer. The gears were turning. This isn't just a note. "Mia," she said, her voice hardening again. "This is intent. This is collusion. This proves he wasn't just a duped fool. This shows malice." She turned to her computer. Her fingers flew. "I was afraid of this. After you left, I dug deeper into Mercer Media. I pulled the incorporation documents." She turned the monitor to face us. "Victoria Mercer is the CEO. James Mercer, her husband, is the CFO. And look," she pointed to a name added 3 months ago. "Andre Brooks, junior partner." He's a partner?" I whispered. "He never told us." Of course he didn't tell us. Calvin's voice was gravel, because he knew we'd never approve. He knew what we'd say. "Aaliyah," I asked, my blood running cold again. What does this mean, legally?" Aaliyah looked me square in the eyes. The pity was gone. This was the truth. "It means they have him. Mia, they've tied him to their finances. They roped him into this fraud. Whether he understood the extent of it or not, he's on the hook. Legally, he's just as liable as they are." She let the words sink in. "If we take this to court, if we report the forgery, the first person the police are going to look at, after Victoria, is her partner. Your son." The room was spinning. My son, our only son, roped into this. They hadn't just erased us. They had trapped him. That evening, Bea came over again. She was carrying a casserole dish, her church lady armor. But her face was pale. I probably shouldn't tell you this," she began, lowering her voice as we sat in the kitchen. "But you need to know. My cousin, the one at First Southern Bank?" My head snapped up. Guess who came in last month? Trying to secure a new line of credit for business expansion. For Mercer Media. Who, Bea? It was Victoria Mercer, and Andre. Calvin stood up from his chair. My cousin said, they told the bank it was for brand expansion. But when the manager asked for financials, for collateral, Victoria, she just smiled. And she leaned on Andre. And she said, Your parents will guarantee it. Won't they, Andre? They always do. And Mia, my cousin said. Andre just nodded. It all clicked. The sponsorship deals, the forged contracts, the junior partner title, the handwriting on the photo. This wasn't about a wedding aesthetic. It was about leverage. It was about our house, our savings, our legacy. They were using our son as the bridge to our resources. And when we didn't guarantee it, when we didn't fit, they cut us out. And Andre held the scissors. The week after Andre left our kitchen, the second time, after Calvin had ordered him out, was the longest week of my life. Longer than the week I waited for my biopsy results. Longer than the week my mother was in hospice. That week, our house was not a home. It was a tomb. We had the evidence. We had the photograph with Andre's handwriting. We had the bank notice. We had Aaliyah's confirmation of forgery. We had all the pieces of our broken life laid out on the dining room table. But all I could feel was the silence. The silence where my son's voice used to be. Calvin and I moved like ghosts around each other. We'd catch each other's eye. And the question would just hang there. Unspoken. What now? We had the gun. We had the bullets. But the target was our own child. If we go to the police, Mia, Calvin said, one night, staring into an unlit fireplace. If we file charges for the forgery, they'll take him down with them. Aaliyah was right. He's a partner. He's complicit. They'll paint us as vindictive parents. And they'll throw our own son in jail just to spite us. So we do nothing? I whispered, the words tasting like ash. We let them win? We let them take our house, our name, our dignity? We let them keep our son? No, he said, standing up. We don't do nothing. We don't fight their way. We don't go to the police. Not yet. He picked up his phone. We go back to Aaliyah. But this time, we're not asking what happened. We're planning what happens next. Aaliyah's office, the third time we visited, felt different. It wasn't a place of comfort. And it wasn't a place of discovery. It was a war room. When we walked in, she wasn't alone. Mia, Calvin, Aaliyah said, standing, I want you to meet Denise Carter. The woman who stood was tall, sharp, and had eyes that looked like they'd seen everything twice. She didn't offer a hug. She offered a firm, dry handshake. Mrs. Brooks, Mr. Brooks, Denise Carter said. Her voice was like smooth gravel. Aaliyah's been telling me about your situation. I'm an investigative journalist with the Journal-Constitution. I looked at Aaliyah, confused. Denise, Aaliyah explained, has been building a file on Victoria Mercer's creative financing for almost a decade. Charity galas where the donations never quite made it to the charity. Vendors who went bankrupt after Mercer Media managed their events. She's had the smoke. You, she said, pointing to the file on her desk. Just brought her the fire. Denise leaned against the window. Victoria is smart. She hides behind shell companies. But this, forging your names on six-figure contracts? Using your own son as a legal shield? That's not just arrogant, Mrs. Brooks. That's sloppy. And it's the opening I've been waiting for. My heart was hammering. What? What do you mean? Aaliyah slid a glossy brochure across the desk. It was cream-colored. My stomach clenched. The Savannah Philanthropy Gala, Aaliyah said. In 3 weeks. It's Victoria's biggest event of the year. She's supposed to be raising $500,000 for the Children's Hospital Fund. Supposed to, Denise repeated, her voice dripping with skepticism. She's funneling the money, isn't she? Calvin stated. It wasn't a question. Like a fire hose, Aaliyah confirmed. We pulled the preliminary contracts. She's using the same model. Inflated invoices, kickbacks, and she's using the same vendors from the wedding. The ones who know she's good for the money. She paused. And she's doing it all under the Mercer Media banner. The company your son is a partner in. So, we expose them. Calvin said. How? I asked, my voice trembling. They'll just lie. They'll say we're bitter. They'll use Andre to paint us as villains. They're already doing it. B had told me, the whispers were all over the church prayer line, that we had ruined the wedding, that we were selfish, jealous of our son's success, that we had staged a hostile cancellation mid-ceremony. Sloane and Victoria weren't just erasing us, they were rewriting us. They'll lie, Denise agreed, but it's hard to lie when your world is collapsing around you in real time. In front of every major donor in Atlanta and Savannah. In front of my camera. And that's when the plan was born. It wasn't a lawsuit, it was a takedown. But what about Andre? I asked, the words tearing at my throat. He's in on it. He's at the center of it. We can't, I won't, sacrifice my son. I don't care what he did. Aaliyah looked at me, her gaze softening for the first time. Mia, do you really think he's in on it? Or is he a hostage? That handwriting on the photo. That was a boy lashing out. Terrified. The signature on the partnership. That was a boy manipulated. He's a man. Aaliyah, Calvin said, his voice hard. Is he? She countered. Or is he a prisoner of war? They have him, Calvin. They have him trapped in their lies. In their finances. They're using him as a shield. She leaned forward. This plan isn't about sacrificing Andre. It's about rescuing him. But to do that, he has to choose. He has to stop being a Mercer and start being a Brooks again. He has to become our inside man. That night, I did the hardest thing I've ever done. I called my son. He picked up on the fifth ring. His voice was wary. Mom? Andre, I said, my voice steady, though my heart was breaking. We're not going to fight this. You win. We just want to talk. We want to sign the papers. What papers? Whatever papers Victoria needs. For the house. For the guarantee. We're done fighting. We want our family back. It was a lie. Every word tasted like poison. There was silence. Then, a choked sound. Mom, don't. Please don't. We're coming to your condo. I said, we'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up. When he opened the door, I almost didn't recognize him. He was thin. His eyes were dark, haunted. He looked broken. Mom, Dad, what are you? We sat on his stiff, modern sofa, the one Sloane had picked out. We know, Andre, Calvin said, his voice quiet. We know about the forgery. We know about Mercer Media. We know about the partnership. We know they're trying to take our house. Andre just crumpled. His head fell into his hands. And a sob tore out of him. It wasn't the sob of a man. It was the wail of a little boy. I didn't know. He cried, his words muffled. I swear, I didn't know about the forgery. Victoria, she just gave me papers. Said they were standard. For the brand. I signed. I didn't read. Oh God, I didn't read them. And the photo, Andre? I asked, my voice cold. The note? You don't belong here. Did you write that? His head snapped up. His face was a mask of tears and horror. What note, Mom? I would never. And just like that, the ice around my heart cracked. He hadn't written it. I'd seen his terror. He was a fool. He was weak. He was manipulated. But he wasn't that. Then who? Andre? Calvin asked. Sloane, he whispered. She practices my signature sometimes. For checks. For documents. She says my handwriting is stronger than hers. More professional. I thought it was cute. Calvin and I looked at each other. She hadn't just forged our names. She had forged his. They're doing it again, aren't they? Calvin said. The Savannah Gala. Andre nodded, wiping his face. It's worse. It's not just kickbacks. Dad, it's a front. They're in debt. Deep. Some private lenders. not banks. The kind of people who don't forgive. They told me this gala was the only way. That they needed my name, your names, to secure the line of credit to float the event. And the house, I whispered. He flinched. They tried to make me sign papers, granting Mercer Media, managing rights, to your equity line, as collateral. I didn't. I couldn't. I told them I would. But I've been stalling. That's why Sloan. That's why she sent you that photo. To break you. To make you give up. So that was it. The final twist. He wasn't a co-conspirator. He was a hostage, and they had just sent us the ransom note. Son, Calvin said, and his voice was full of iron. You have a choice. Right now, you can stay here, in this set piece, and go to prison with them. Or you can come home. You can help us. You can help us end this. Andre looked at me, his eyes full of terror. They'll ruin me. They already have, baby, I said, touching his face. The only question is, are you going to let them? The night of the Savannah Gala. I did not wear black. I did not wear gray. I wore a bold, crimson suit. Aaliyah had told me to. You are not a victim tonight. Mia, she'd said, you are not a grieving mother. You are a creditor. You are a force. You looked them in the eye. Calvin wore his best suit, the dark navy one, and a power red tie. We looked like we belonged. We walked into the ballroom at the Grand Marlowe Hotel. It was glittering, crystal chandeliers, a sea of black tie and diamonds. It was Lakeside Manor times 100. And there they were. Victoria, in emerald green, laughing too loudly with a senator. Sloan, in a silver gown that looked like liquid metal, her hand on Andre's arm, smiling for a photographer. Image. Andre caught my eye across the room. He was pale, but he held my gaze. He gave the smallest, almost invisible, nod. He was in place. We took our seats at a table near the back, bought and paid for by Aaliyah. Denise Carter was at the table with us, disguised as a donor, a small, discreet camera in her clutch. The first hour was a blur of speeches and self-congratulation. Victoria took the stage. And it is with such pride, she cooed into the microphone, that we announce our partnership with my brilliant daughter, Sloan, and our dedicated son-in-law, Andre Brooks, of Mercer Media. That was the cue. In the back of the room, Aaliyah, who had been on her phone with the vendors all night, gave a signal. It began subtly. The string quartet, which had been playing softly, faltered mid-piece. Then, they quietly packed up their instruments and walked out a side door. A confused murmur rippled through the crowd. Victoria paused, her smile tightening. A short musical interlude. Then, the massive floral centerpieces, the ones that must have cost $50, staff members came out. Not hotel staff, but the florist's staff, and they began removing them from every table. What is this? A woman at the next table whispered. The catering staff, who were supposed to be serving the first course, never emerged. The kitchen doors stayed shut. Victoria was frantic now, signaling to a planner. What is going on? She hissed, forgetting the mic was still live. And then, Calvin stood up. He didn't shout, he just stood, tall and proud, in his navy suit. The vendors are leaving, Victoria, he said, his voice, steady and calm, carried in the suddenly silent room. They're leaving because they were informed that the company paying them, Mercer Media, is a fraudulent enterprise. Gasps, like gunfire. How dare you? Victoria shrieked. Security, remove this man. He's unstable. He's the one who sabotaged my daughter's wedding. Is he? Denise Carter's sharp voice cut through. She was on her feet, her camera now openly recording. Denise Carter, Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Mrs. Mercer, is it true that Mercer Media has funneled over $2 million into an offshore account in the last 5 years? is it true you're under investigation for fraud? The room erupted. Phones, clicks, shouts. Lies, slander, Victoria screamed, her face a mask of crimson rage. It's not a lie. The voice came from the stage. It was Andre. He had taken the second microphone. He was shaking from head to foot. But he stood tall. Sloane grabbed his arm. Andre, stop. What are you doing? He pulled his arm free. No, it's not a lie. And this, he held up a sheaf of papers. This is the document my mother-in-law and my wife tried to make me sign. The one that would have given them control of my parents' home. The one they forged my signature on. Just like they forged my parents' signatures on the wedding contracts. Sloane let out a sound, a scream. I'd never heard before. Andre, please, she begged, tears streaming down her flawless face. We can fix this. Tell them it's a mistake. You erased my parents from our wedding, he said, his voice breaking, but loud. You erased me from my own life. You don't get to fix this. The ballroom was in chaos. Donors were shouting, storming the stage. The senator was already gone. And then, the main doors opened. It wasn't hotel security. It was 2 uniformed police officers, followed by 2 detectives in suits. Aaliyah had been on the phone with them, too. She had presented the forgery evidence to the DA that morning. They walked calmly through the chaos. Past the overturned chairs, past the weeping bridesmaids, they walked right up to the stage. Victoria Mercer? James Mercer? Sloane Brooks? The detective said. His voice bored, like this was just paperwork. You need to come with us. Calvin and I stood near the back. Hand in hand, we watched the empire that had humiliated us, that had tried to steal our legacy, collapse in on itself in real time. I watched them lead Victoria away, her face a mask of stunned, ugly disbelief. I watched them handcuff Sloane, her silver dress glittering under the harsh lights, her fake tears now real. She looked at me, just once, as they led her past. Her eyes were full of a hatred so pure. It was almost beautiful. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel joy. I felt release. Andre stood alone on the stage, frozen, watching them go. I walked toward him, through the chaos, through the reporters shouting questions. I walked right up to the stage. He looked down at me, his face wet with tears. Mom, I'm so sorry. I know, baby, I whispered. I reached up and touched his cheek. It's over. Come on, let's go home. The days after the Savannah Gala passed in a haze of headlines and hushed phone calls. Our quiet street was suddenly no longer quiet. News vans parked at the corner, their long antennas pointed at our house like accusations. Reporters, bold as brass, walked right up to our door, shoving microphones in Calvin's face when he went to get the paper. Mr. Brooks, how does it feel to have taken down your own daughter-in-law? Mia, is it true you orchestrated the entire thing out of revenge for the wedding snub? Revenge. They made it sound so small, so petty, as if this was about a snub, as if this wasn't about forgery, about theft, about our home and our son. Denise Carter's story had exploded. The Mercer deception, they called it. It turned out Victoria and her husband hadn't just been skimming from charities, they were tied to a massive racketeering scheme. The wedding, the gala, they were just desperate. Clumsy attempts to pay off private lenders who were threatening to break more than just their legs. The Mercers were arrested, their assets were frozen, their perfect, curated world imploded, and the world watched on live TV. But victory, I learned, doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels like an exhaustion so deep. It settles in your bones. Andre moved back into his old room. At 28 years old, he was back in his teenage bedroom. Surrounded by his old debate trophies and Morehouse pennants. He spent his days on the phone with Aaliyah, giving testimony. He was the prosecution's star witness. He had to lay bare every stupid, trusting, weak-willed decision he had made. He had to explain to a grand jury how he, a man with a master's degree in engineering, had signed partnership papers without reading them, how he had allowed his wife to practice his signature. He was not a criminal. He was, in the eyes of the law, a victim. But in the eyes of the world, and in his own, he was a fool, and that, I think, was a life sentence of its own. Calvin and I, we rebuilt. We had to. We went back to church. The whispers were different now. The pity had turned into a kind of awe, mixed with fear. Sister B held my hand a little tighter during prayer. Pastor Reynolds, in his sermon, preached about the righteousness of David versus the pride of Goliath, and I felt my cheeks burn. Because I didn't feel righteous. I just felt tired. The Mercers, of course, did not go quietly. Even with their bank accounts frozen and their reputations in ashes, they still had one move left: malice. A thick envelope arrived by courier. This time, it was legal. They were suing us. Defamation, intentional sabotage of a business, loss of reputation. And the plaintiff, the lead plaintiff, was Sloane Brooks Mercer. My chest tightened. She was still using our name. She's suing us? I said, the words absurd. Aaliyah, they're in jail. They're out on bail. Mia, Aaliyah said over the phone, her voice weary. And this isn't about winning. This is about hurting. They know they've lost the war. So they're planting landmines. They want to drag you, Calvin, and Andre through a public, nasty civil trial. They want to drain your remaining finances and your spirit. She claims, Calvin read from the paper, his voice dripping with disbelief, that we ruined her marriage, that we spread malicious lies to destroy her burgeoning media empire. That I, Mia, was a jealous and unstable mother-in-law. The irony was so bitter. I thought I would choke on it. She had cut us from her wedding. She had paid for security to remove us. She had tried to steal our house. She had forged our son's handwriting. And we were the villains. Then let them try, Calvin said, folding the paper. Let's see how that plays out in court, in front of a judge who's just seen their federal indictment. The trial date was set for the following spring. By then, the Mercer empire was dust. Their mansion was auctioned off on the courthouse steps. Victoria was facing 10 years. Her husband, more. But Sloane had played her last card. She had divorced Andre from jail. And she'd testified against her own parents, claiming she, too, was a victim of their manipulation. She'd claimed Andre had been in on it with her parents. And she had been the naive one. She was trying to paint herself as the new Mia. On the morning of the hearing for her lawsuit against us, I dressed with care. I didn't wear crimson this time. I wore a simple, cream-colored dress, the color of brides, the color of innocence. I wore my mother's pearls. Not my grandmother's, those were still in the silver box. But my mother's, simple, elegant, unbreakable. The courtroom was half empty. The press had moved on to newer, fresher scandals. This was just the sad, pathetic epilogue. Sloane sat across the aisle. She was thinner. Her hair was no longer a glossy, curated helmet. It was flat, lifeless. She wore a simple black dress. She looked plain, smaller. She avoided Andre's gaze. She avoided my gaze. She just stared at her hands. Aaliyah rose. She presented the evidence with surgical precision. The forged contracts, the bank notice, the security footage from Lakeside Manor, the printed out screenshot from the "No Messy In-Laws" Instagram post, the photograph with the faked handwriting. It was an execution. It took less than a day. When it was Sloane's turn, her voice was a monotone. Her tears felt rehearsed. The jury, 6 men and 6 women who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else, saw right through it. The verdict came back in under an hour. Case dismissed, with prejudice. Sloane didn't even cry. She just sat there, as if she'd expected it. We won. Again. We were vindicated. Again. That night, for the first time in almost a year, Calvin and I sat on our porch and drank a glass of wine. Andre was inside, on his laptop, applying for jobs in a new city. A fresh start. It's over, Calvin murmured, touching his glass to mine. It's finally over. Yes, I said, leaning my head on his shoulder. It's over. But life always leaves one final ripple. Weeks later, we were cleaning out Andre's condo, the one he'd shared with Sloane. He couldn't bear to do it himself, so I had volunteered. It was my way of closing the door. It was mostly empty. They had taken the furniture. All that was left was junk. Old magazines, wire hangers, empty shoeboxes. I was in the back of her closet, the walk-in one she had loved so much. In a corner, under a stack of bridal magazines, was a small, wooden keepsake box. Not expensive, the kind you buy at a craft store. My hands trembled. I don't know why I opened it. Maybe I was looking for one last piece of evidence to prove how evil she was. Inside was nothing, just some dried-up flowers, and a single, sealed envelope. It was cream-colored. Addressed to me, Nia. My blood went cold. It wasn't my son's handwriting. It was hers, that looping, practiced, arrogant script. I opened it. The date at the top, it was 2 months before the wedding. My hands were shaking so hard, I could barely read it. Nia. I know you don't like me. I know you don't think I'm good enough for Andre. Maybe you're right. I see the way you look at me. But I need you to understand something. My parents, they aren't who they pretend to be. They are in trouble. Deep, deep trouble. They're using Andre. They're using his name, his credit. They're trying to use you. I'm trapped. You don't know what they're capable of. You don't know my father. If I don't play along, if I don't get them the money from this wedding, they won't just hurt me. They will hurt him. I have to do this. I have to push you away. It's the only way to keep you safe. If you're not tied to this, they can't touch your money. They can't touch your house. If you ever get this, please just watch out for him. He's so soft. He doesn't see what I see. He doesn't know the monster he's married into. Don't trust them. Don't even trust me. Sloane. I sank onto the carpeted floor of that empty, soulless closet. The letter shook in my hands. She had known. She had known. The scene at the wedding replayed in my mind. Her cold eyes. You don't fit the aesthetic. Leave through the staff exit. Was it cruelty? Or was it a desperate, terrified performance? A performance designed to sever us from the contracts. To make us so angry that we would pull our money out. That we would do exactly what Calvin did? Had she wanted him to cancel? Had she been counting on it? The twist, the final, sickening twist, it coiled in my stomach. Had we fought the wrong enemy all along? Was Sloane Mercer a master manipulator? Or was she the most tragic victim of all? I sat there, on that floor, for a long, long time. That night, I didn't show the letter to Calvin. I didn't show it to Andre. I folded it, and I placed it in my jewelry box. Right next to that silver gift box. Which I still hadn't opened. Two truths, side by side. The betrayal that broke us, and the possibility that nothing was ever as simple as it seemed. As spring warmed into summer, I walked through my garden. The roses we'd planted were blooming, deep crimson, and the fireflies sparked in the dusk. For the first time in years, peace felt possible. But as I stood in that soft light, I thought of the letter. I thought of the woman who had carried our name, who had tried to destroy us, or maybe, who had tried to save us all. I would never know. And that, I realized, was the true ending, not the victory, not the revenge. It was the question, the one that would linger forever. The gift box felt heavy in my hands. though it was no larger than a loaf of bread. It was wrapped in silver paper and tied with a navy ribbon. But it carried the weight of 3 generations of black women. Inside lay my grandmother's pearl necklace. The one Big Mama wore when she married Grandpop. The one my own mother wore on her wedding day. The one I'd promised, swore, would be passed down to the next woman who joined our family. I had pictured this moment for months. Walking into that bridal suite. Smiling through happy tears. Fastening those pearls around my new daughter-in-law's neck. I pictured her hugging me. Maybe even thanking me for helping make her dream day possible. For all the sacrifices we'd made. Instead, I stood frozen in a hallway lined with too many gilded mirrors at the Lakeside Manor Resort. My reflection stared back at me like a stranger. The scent of roses and eucalyptus drifted in from the garden where guests were already arriving. And there she was, Sloane Mercer. Standing in her ivory gown. Sequins glittering like ice. Her bridesmaids, an entourage in champagne silk, were fanned out behind her. Her eyes met mine, sharp, unflinching. She stepped into the hallway, pulling the heavy door just enough to shut out the sound of her bridal party. She lowered her voice to a chilling calm. "You're not invited, Mia. Please leave through the staff exit. It's down the hall, to the left." For a moment, I didn't understand. The words just clanged in my ears. Disjointed, surreal. My husband, Calvin, who'd been adjusting his tie right behind me, went rigid. "What?" I whispered, clutching that gift box like it might anchor me to the floor. "This day is about image," she said, her smile thin, practiced for the cameras she loved so much. "Andre and I have decided. We only want his friends and my family present." She looked me up and down, then looked at Calvin. "No offense, but you two, you just don't fit the aesthetic." A laugh bubbled up in me. But it wasn't amusement, it was disbelief, brittle and sharp. Behind her, I caught sight of one of her bridesmaids snapping a photo with her phone. Smothering a giggle. Calvin's voice was low, dangerous. "We paid for this wedding, Sloane. This venue, the flowers, the 7-piece band, our names are on every last contract." Sloane's shoulders lifted in a shrug. Casual, like she was brushing off lint. "And we're so grateful for your contribution," she said, hitting that word like a hammer. "But this moment isn't about you. Don't make a scene. The planner can escort you out a side door." Her words were knives wrapped in silk. I stared at her flawless makeup, the expensive beading on her gown. For one flickering second, I searched for any trace of warmth, any crack in that ice. There was none, only calculation. Calvin reached for my elbow, steadying me. His jaw was locked tight, the way it gets when he's holding back a storm. We turned, stepping away from the door, away from the giggles, away from the curated perfection. We walked down that manicured hallway in silence, past portraits of smiling brides who looked like they belonged here more than we did. The gift box dug into my palms. It felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. We walked. We didn't run. We didn't scurry. You don't give people like that the satisfaction of seeing you break. My heels clicked on the marble floor. A steady, measured rhythm. Click, clack, click, clack. Calvin's hand was still on my elbow. Not just steadying me, but grounding me. His dress shoes were silent on the expensive rug runner. Each step felt like a mile. We passed a server, a young brother, probably working his way through college, carrying a tray of champagne flutes polished to a mirror shine. He nodded at us, a small, polite gesture of respect. "Good evening, ma'am, sir." I couldn't find my voice to answer him. I just nodded, forcing a tightness into my lips that I hope looked like a smile. He didn't deserve my pain. We passed the grand staircase, the one Sloane had insisted on for her grand entrance. I remembered her showing us the brochure, her eyes alight. "Mia, it's iconic," she'd said. Calvin and I had looked at the price tag. That staircase alone cost more than my first car. But we'd signed the check. We signed it because our only son, Andre, had looked at us with that hopeful, pleading look in his eyes. The same look he'd had when he wanted his first two-wheel bicycle. We'd worked overtime for that bicycle. We'd dipped into our 401k for that staircase. The string quartet's notes floated faintly through the air, sweet and hollow. Bach, maybe, something classical and expensive, something that was supposed to signal class, but now just felt like a mockery. You don't fit the aesthetic. The words echoed. Aesthetic. What did she know about aesthetics? My big mama, who raised 6 children on a laundress's salary in rural Alabama, had an aesthetic. It was called dignity. It was called survival. It was called making $1 out of 15 cents and still having enough grace to set a plate for a neighbor. It was the aesthetic of calloused hands and a spine made of iron. What did this child, with her sponsored Instagram posts and her store-bought personality, know about any of that? As we neared the grand lobby doors, I saw her, Victoria Mercer, Sloane's mother. She was standing near the guest book, which looked more like a medieval manuscript. She was dressed in a deep sapphire gown, diamonds dripping from her ears. She was the picture of old money, except Calvin and I knew for a fact they were anything but. They were new money, desperate to look old, and they'd hitched their wagon to our son. Or rather, to the future we'd built for our son. Victoria saw us. Our eyes locked across the expanse of marble. I saw recognition. I saw her register our faces, the parents of the groom. And then, as clear as day, I saw her dismiss us. Her face didn't just turn away. It was a conscious, deliberate erasure. Her chin lifted, her shoulders straightened, and she turned her back to us, laughing at something a senator's wife had just said. It was a cut so deep. It didn't even bleed. It just severed. That was the moment the ice in my veins turned to steel. The hurt didn't vanish. Lord, no. The hurt was a living thing, breathing fire in my chest. But something else rose up to meet it. It was the woman who had sat in boardrooms as the only black face and the only female face, and had not backed down. It was the mother who had stared down a racist principal who tried to suspend her honor roll son. It was the wife of Calvin Brooks. We pushed through the heavy glass doors. The late afternoon sun turned the lake to liquid gold. Guests in designer dresses and sharp tuxedos drifted toward the garden, chattering, laughing, completely unaware of the rot underneath all this beauty. We crossed the gravel drive, the crunch of the stones under our feet the only sound. We reached our car, a solid, dependable Buick, paid in full, and slid inside. For a long moment, neither of us moved, neither of us spoke. The heavy, soundproof glass of the car door shut out the world. It shut out the hollow music, the false laughter, the scent of roses. Inside this car, it was just us, just Mia and Calvin. 40 years of marriage, 40 years of building, of struggling, of praying, of winning. We had sat in this same car, or versions of it, outside hospitals when Andre was sick. Outside his dorm on his first day of college. Outside the church on the day my mother was buried. We had weathered storms. But this felt different. This was a betrayal from the inside. She threw us out, Calvin said at last. His voice wasn't loud. It was raw, stripped bare. She threw us out of our own son's wedding. She threw us away, I whispered. The silver gift box sat heavy in my lap. A relic of trust shattered in an instant. All my life, I had been the peacemaker. The one who smoothed ruffled feathers. The one who swallowed her own hurt for the sake of family harmony. The one who went to church every Sunday and believed in grace. I thought of those pearls. I imagined fastening them around Sloane's neck. Now, I imagined dropping them into that cold, dark lake, watching them vanish one by one. I looked at my husband. Calvin wasn't looking at me. He was staring straight ahead, through the windshield, at the glittering, mocking facade of the Lakeside Manor Resort. His hands, strong hands that had built our son's crib and held mine through labor, were gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles were white. His silence was louder than any outburst I had ever heard from him. He was a quiet man. My Calvin, a man of measure and thought. But I knew the storm that lived behind those eyes. When he finally spoke, his words were slow, deliberate, each one landing like a gavel. The contracts. I turned, stunned by the cold fury in that one word. What? The contracts, Mia, he said, turning to look at me. The storm was in his eyes now. Every last one of them. The venue, the planner, the $20 worth of flowers, the band from Atlanta, the 10-tier cake, the open bar. He tapped his temple. They're all in my name. Our names are on every dotted line. I didn't understand where he was going. Calvin, what does that? She wants image, he said. A bitter, unfamiliar smile twisting his lip. She wants an aesthetic. She wants us invisible. He let that hang in the air. The weight of the word. Invisible. After all the years we had fought to be seen. To be counted. To matter. Well, he said, his voice dropping to that dangerous calm I knew so well. If they want us invisible, then everything we gave them can disappear. Too. My breath caught. Calvin, no. Yes. Mia. His eyes bore into mine. We don't need to beg for a place at this circus. We paid for the circus. We built the tent. I looked down at the gift box. I thought of Big Mama. I thought of my mother. I thought of all the women in my family who had been told to use the back door. Who had been told they didn't fit. Who had been told to be quiet. To be grateful for scraps. To not make a scene. Don't make a scene, Sloane's words. The string quartet's notes floated faintly through the air. Sweet and hollow. Guests were laughing, clinking glasses, waiting for a wedding that was already unraveling. I closed my eyes. I inhaled the scent of roses on the wind. And I nodded. Do it. That was all he needed. Calvin pulled out his phone. His fingers, which had been trembling with rage moments before, were steady now, rock steady. He scrolled through his contacts. His face illuminated by the cold, blue light of the screen. He found the first name, Tessa, wedding planner. He pressed call. He put it on speaker. It rang once, twice. Mr. Brooks. Tessa's voice was chirpy, frantic. Hi, are you and Mrs. Brooks on your way? The procession is starting in 20. And... Calvin's voice cut through her like a surgeon's scalpel. Calm, measured, almost gentle. This is Calvin Brooks. I am the primary signatory on Contract 44B. For the Mercer Brooks wedding. Tessa's voice faltered. The chipper tone vanished. Yes, Mr. Brooks. Is there a problem with the processional? We're trying to find Andre. There is no processional, Calvin said, per Section 8, subsection C of our agreement. I am notifying you of a breach of contract by your client. Sloane Mercer. I don't understand. A breach? We, the primary financiers and parents of the groom, have been denied entry and forcibly removed from the premises by the bride. Silence on the other end. Dead, shocked silence. I could picture Tessa, her clipboard frozen in her hand. Mr. Brooks, that must be a misunderstanding. Sloane, she's stressed. Let me go talk to her. Let me fix this. There is nothing to fix. Tessa, Calvin said, his voice devoid of all emotion. This call is to notify you that we are canceling. Effective immediately. Canceling? Canceling what? The wedding? We are canceling the flowers. We are canceling the catering. We are canceling the band. And we are canceling you. All services are to be terminated. Effective, right now. Do not serve one plate of food. Do not play one more note of music. Pack up your flowers. Mr. Brooks, you can't. The guests are here. The deposit, you'll lose everything. The contract says. The contract, Calvin said, his voice dropping another 10 degrees. Says I am the payer. And the payer is canceling. If your staff serves one more shrimp puff. If that band plays one more song. You will not be paid for any of it. Our lawyers will see to that. Are we clear? Yes, Mr. Brooks. Her voice was a whisper. He hung up. He didn't take a breath. He scrolled to the next name. Armand, florist. He pressed, call, speaker. Mr. Brooks. A pleasure. Armand's voice was flamboyant and warm. We'd liked him. Are you enjoying the gardenias? The aroma is just. Armand, this is Calvin Brooks. Stop all work. Pack up every flower, every centerpiece, every rose petal on the aisle. You are to remove them from the premises immediately. Quoi? What? Mr. Brooks. It is 1 hour to the ceremony. It is. Impossible. The bride, she will. The bride has no authority here. Our contract is with you. My wife and I are exercising our right to terminate. Pack it all. But, my reputation, You will be paid for your time up to this exact minute. As per the cancellation clause. But if one of those orchids remains, the contract is void. Good evening. He hung up. My hands were trembling. I placed the gift box gently on the dashboard. I was no longer the peacemaker. I was the wife of a general in a war we never asked for. Next call, La Croix Catering. Mr. Brooks? We are plating the appetizers now. This is Calvin Brooks. Do not plate anything. The event is cancelled. This time, the man on the other end laughed. Very funny, sir. The bride's mother just approved the. I don't care what Victoria Mercer approved. My name is on the check. My home equity line is paying your bill. And I am telling you. The party is over. Shut down the kitchen. Pack up the food. Send your staff home. Sir, this is madness. I have $50 of food here. Lobster, caviar. Then I suggest you donate it to a shelter. Calvin said, because it is not being served at Lakeside Manor. Our contract is terminated. Send me the final bill. He hung up. I sat beside him, watching the sun lower over the lake, bleeding orange into gray. Inside that resort, a bride was preparing to walk down an aisle lined with flowers we had just withdrawn. Toward music we had just silenced. To a feast we had just erased. Calvin made one last call. The Midnight Groovers, the band. This is Calvin, he said. Hey, Cal, we're warming up. We're going to start with that Etta James you wanted. Calvin closed his eyes. That was supposed to be our song. For the mother-son dance. Pack your instruments, Calvin said, his voice thick for the first time. Pack it all up. The wedding is off. The band leader, a man we'd known from our church circles for 20 years, didn't even question it. He just said, Lord have mercy. I'm sorry, brother. We're on our way out. Calvin put his phone down. Silence. The car was silent. The world outside was silent. The sun had dipped below the trees. My hands no longer trembled. She wanted us gone, I whispered, more to myself than to Calvin. She wanted us to disappear. I looked at the grand, glittering resort, now just a dark silhouette against the twilight. Let's see how their day looks without us. And in the quiet that followed, one question echoed like a drumbeat in my mind. A question that would haunt every breath until the truth was uncovered. What kind of woman tells her husband's parents they are not invited to the wedding they paid for? And this was the one that truly hurt. Why was our son, Andre, so certain she could get away with it?